Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 back with another kicking graphic novel review. Today we have the one you have all been waiting for. The finale of IDW's third ongoing Godzilla series, Godzilla Rulers of Earth, Volume 6. Yeah, so this is the end of Rulers of Earth, the end of their ongoing Godzilla book. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 miniseries after this one, and then it just kind of ended. I wish it would have continued because I really liked most of the IDW Godzilla books. And this is the longest of the Rulers of Earth trades. And I'm going to read you the back of the book real quick. Godzilla's final battle. In this war, it's winner take Earth. When a new cryog threat unleashes the powerful trilopod species upon the planet, Earth's monsters are hunted and harvested to create hybrid mutations of themselves, as Godzilla is trapped in Los Angeles fighting the vicious Space Godzilla. Lucy Casprell and Stephen Woods must find a way to save the monsters or face certain extinction. It's a monster battle larger than anything you've seen before. It all ends here in this final installment of Godzilla Rulers of Earth. This collected volume features issues 21 through 25 of the longest-running Godzilla series ever, written by Chris Mowry and featuring artwork by Matt Frank and Jeff Zornow. I think the creative team all did a very good job. Of course, Matt Frank always does a good job, but everyone else did a great job as well. The final fight is a little hard to follow because there's so much dust being kicked up, and then there are so many trilopods that look extremely similar, and it's kind of hard to tell where everyone's coming from sometimes. But I think that's kind of just a problem with the scale of the fight, and also like the scale of the fight in more ways than one. One, I mean amount of characters, and two, I mean size of the creatures. It was a little hard to follow at some points just for that fight, but other than that, this was a good book. So let's talk about the interior. So, the trilopods showed up recently, and they are abducting monsters from all around the world and putting them in the Emperor's mothership so that trilopods can feed off of their genetics and turn into hybrid monsters. So there are larger trilopod kaiju, and then there are smaller ones. The smaller ones, their only job is to suck out the DNA, and the big one's job is to subdue the monsters. So the small ones suck the DNA, crawl into the back of the larger ones, and then they fuse together into one bigger hybrid. And we get really cool hybrids. My favorite hybrid is the Gyra hybrid. It's really cool. But there's some other cool ones like Varan Titanosaurus. Really all the monsters get a hybrid, which is pretty rad. It starts off with the Space Godzilla trilopod fighting Space Godzilla and Godzilla. So Godzilla and Space Godzilla have an uneasy alliance, just fighting these really strong trilopod monsters. Gorosaurus awakens and fights some trilopods as well, because the trilopods are all awakening any dormant monsters so that they can fight them. And Gorosaurus really kicked ass too. Gorosaurus was doing better by himself than Godzilla and Space Godzilla were doing as a team, which is really saying something. Gorosaurus is stronger than people think. I mean, he did kick down King Ghidorah and destroy all monsters. One hit, And then it kind of shows why the Batra twins, Mallory and the other one, whose name I don't remember. I think it's Minette. Yeah, Mallory and Minette. Why they don't like Mothra. Because Mothra was apparently fighting Chimericus when they were kids. And then that fight got their mom killed. But their mom only died because she was looking for them and they were hiding from her. So I think they really hate Mothra so that they can displace blame from themselves. But Batra also hates Mothra, and since they're psychic twins, they easily found a connection with Batra. And then King Caesar is awakened by the humans. He fights Batra for a little bit, which is a pretty cool fight. Mallory and Minette die. King Caesar kills them after they threaten to kill Lucy and friends. Lucy and friends! That's my name for the group. Because I didn't bother to learn anyone's name except for Lucy and Steven. Well, Steven's actually not part of the group. He's part of a different group. And I know Steven isn't the only one I know in his group. But yeah, so we head back to see Steven, and there's multiple Godzilla trilopod hybrids. They're doing stuff. All the monsters have been gathered into one place pretty much. And there's kind of a power struggle in the Cryogs. Because remember, the Cryog that has appeared to be the leader for this entire run is actually not the leader. There's a Cryog Emperor. But apparently the Showa King Ghidorah, so it turns out there are multiple King Ghidorahs in this continuity. The Showa King Ghidorah destroyed their planet, and the Emperor just fled and didn't try to help anybody at all. And then the Cryog that stayed behind, he actually picked up the pieces of their society that were left behind and then led the Cryogs that were still alive and didn't just leave with the Emperor on to try to improve his species and stuff. So we have two Cryog leaders, only one who seems to care about his people, but he doesn't really care about his people because we've seen him just kill other Cryogs in this book just for failing it. So there aren't any good options when it comes to Cryog leaders, and it does kind of imply that their culture was one where cruelty and strength were kind of admired. So that's that. But so the Emperor destroys the Cryog ship with all the other Cryogs on it that we've been following this whole book, and then that frees Gigan from his restraints on the moon, and he's in his third form, which is Chainsaw Gigan, so he kicks ass. There are just so many Trilopod monsters. We don't see every single monster again in the end fight. Like Gezera's not there, Manda's not there, Destroya's not there. But they gave us a bunch of new monsters for the fight. And I just want to say I'm glad for the final fight of the last ongoing series they gave us original monsters that could be a diverse and overwhelming threat. Because they could have just picked some other existing monster. But there weren't a lot of existing monsters left, for one thing. And I feel like the new monster was a bigger threat than any really existing Godzilla film monster. So I really liked that with this. There's also an Orochi Easter egg in here. There's like a movie billboard for Orochi. I was thinking about Toho monsters when I said that. But yeah, we get to see Mogera again. We get to see all kinds of monsters like Chimericus and others we didn't see. We get to see Titanosaurus and Zilla make a comeback. Zilla's been absent for a while on the battlefield. But it's just the biggest fight. Like King Caesar and Godzilla really lead the charge. King Caesar almost leads the charge more than Godzilla, because Godzilla does most of the fighting by himself, and then King Caesar shows up with most of the other monsters. Like King Caesar brings Anguirus, Titanosaurus, Chimericus, Kumanga, Rodan, Varan, Gorosaurus, Baragon, Sanda, Gyra, Kamibas. He brings them all into the fight. Jet Jaguar shows up. Jet Jaguar has a cool fight with Gigan that was really kick-ass. And they defeated all the regular Krogs, but then there was like this big-ass Cryog, which I know has a name. It was like a big queen Cryog who was way, 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 way bigger than any of the other kaiju. And I know it has a name because I saw it on the wiki once, but I don't remember what it was because I don't really care. And they eventually beat that Cryog, but Godzilla used almost all the radiation in his body to do it. He's using his red spiral beam the whole time. And Godzilla almost died, and then Steven did die. He gave his life to save Lucy and others. But they did get to say goodbyes to him, which was nice. So he died, which was really sad. Because he's been one of the main characters since like one of the first issues of the first ongoing Kingdom of Monsters. Because he was piloting Mechagodzilla for a bit. But everything seems to turn out relatively okay. Like, it does kind of imply that Gigan is amassing a Mechagodzilla army again in the end. Like, Gigan's still up to stuff and alive. So they could continue the story if they wanted to, but they never really did. I think the Rampage Through Time miniseries or something took place in this continuity. Because they were talking about Godzilla killing the Greek gods and doing all this stuff. And I think that really did take place in this continuity. But I'll have to review that. Don't hold me to that. But I'll eventually review that trade as well. And on the next to last panel, we actually see that Lucy got married to the blonde woman who's been following her around for the past 2 volumes, at least. I don't even know that woman's name. I never bothered to learn her name, but apparently she was important enough for Lucy to marry her. But we only know that because of a picture on Lucy's desk. And, well, I think the creators deserve recognition for a positive portrayal of an LGBTQ character. I do also think, right, I do also think that if you're gonna have an LGBTQ character, maybe you should actually mention that. Like, it doesn't really do a lot to empower the community if, like, because it shows that they got married, but that woman was so unimportant you literally never learn her name. Like, I'm sure her name was mentioned, but she's not really important. She's just kind of walking around with Lucy and friends. I think she, like, worked at the Monster Island facility or something and then just got caught up in it. If she was important enough for Lucy to marry her, then I feel like we should have maybe had some romantic tension between them. That would have been nice. You know, I'm not saying that any of the creators of this book are homophobic. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I'm sure they are very supportive of the community since they were willing to do that in the first place. So I do congratulate them. But if you're gonna represent, you better represent. You know what I'm saying? That might not make sense to everybody, but trust me, it does. So that was it. This is probably my favorite Godzilla comic series of all time. I really liked many of the miniseries, and I haven't read all of the Marvel series, and I haven't read the Dark Horse series either. But I've read every single IDW Godzilla comic that's ever been published, and Godzilla Rulers of Earth was easily the best one out of the ongoings, the miniseries, all of it. So that is it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. The next Godzilla review we do will probably be Aftershock or something. The very next review we do will probably be Spider-Geddon. In fact, I think I'm just going to film it right after this. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support. And I'll see you all later. Caw-caw!